अज्ञानतिमिरन्दर्श्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मायं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं स्वावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपीश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। हरे कृष्ण। स एव जीवलोकस्य माया मोहित चेतसा विदधते स्वेन वीर्येण श्रेयो धर्मादिलक्षणम्। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Shashwin, for reciting the wonderful Mangalacharan and then the shloka. Kumar Prabhuji, can you take us through the word to word? And then Arya Govind Prabhuji, can you take us through translation and purport, please?
Okay, Mataji. Verse number?
24, 1.7.24.
Okay, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Sa, that transcendence. Eva, certainly. Jiva logasya, of the conditional living beings. Maya mogita, captivated by the illusory energy. Idasa, by the heart. With that say, execute. Svena,
Svena,
by your own.
by your own.
Viryena,
Viryena,
influence.
influence.
Treya,
Veya,
ultimate good.
ultimate good.
Dharma Adi,
Dharmadi,
four principle of liberation.
four principles of liberation.
Lakshanam,
Lakshanam,
characterized by.
characterized by.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Translation. And yet, though you are beyond the purview of the material energy, you execute the four principles of liberation characterized by religion and so on for the ultimate good of the conditioned souls. I continue the purport, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, out of his causeless mercy, descends to this manifested world without being influenced by the material modes of nature. He is eternally beyond the material manifestations. He descends out of his causeless mercy only to reclaim the fallen souls who are captivated by the illusory energy. They are attacked by material energy and they want to enjoy her under false pretexts. Although, in essence, the living entity is unable to enjoy. One is eternally the servitor of the Lord, and when he forgets this position, he thinks of enjoying the material world. But factually, he is in illusion. The Lord descends to eradicate this false sense of enjoyment and thus reclaim conditioned souls back to Godhead. That is the all merciful nature of the Lord for the fallen souls. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for reading the translation and purport. As we are waiting for Mataji to come, maybe we can concentrate on reading the shloka. I will message her. After a break, then it just. Arya Govind Prabhu, can you please read the shlok line by line and we can repeat?
Okay. Sa eva jiva lokasya.
Sa eva
Jiva logasya
Maya mohita chetasa.
Maya mogita chetasa
Vidatse svena viryena.
Vittasye svena viryena
Shreyo dharmadi lakshanam.
Preyo dharmadi lakshanam.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Mataji is just joining us. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Danvat Pranam. Please accept our humble obeisances. Mataji, we can't see you. We can see you now, Mataji. Hare Krishna. But you are muted.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Danvat Pranam. Thank you for giving us your time today. We've had a 3-day break, but we feel it's been ages. At least that's the way I feel. It was a change of scene, but still we have missed this group and class and missed everybody's association.
Wow.
At least I never realized that even devotee, yes, we've missed the presenters association, but I missed the devotees association as well. So I felt something is missing. I've not met my family, sort of thing. So thank you, Mataji. Because of you, I'm able to meet other devotees as well. Hare Krishna. Did you have a good Janmashtami celebration? Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, we had a good Janmashtami celebrations. So yesterday we were up till, I think by the time we completed serving and everything, it was around, I got back home at around 1 o'clock, 1:15. I just rushed and came back so that we could do our next day duties also. But it was really blissful, Mataji. Of course, Janmashtami is always special if it is with the association of devotees. We don't have a temple here, it's just a congregation, but it was definitely very good association. We all did Kirtan, Krishna Katha, then just offering the flowers to the deities. So it was nice, Mataji. This is how we celebrate. Feeling fortunate.
Yeah, I'm
Go
not
ahead,
Eldoret, but Eldoret doesn't have a temple. We also have a center, but we decorated the whole pandal, and we performed a abhisheka, and we had dances, and children performed. Shashwin was one of them. They performed dances, and the mothers were gopis, and so
Wow.
I missed it, but I saw it on live and on video, so that I felt a part of my. And there was recitation of shlokas, so it was a full day for us as well. I'm going to.
Right. You're in London, right? Is that why you were not
Yeah.
able to participate?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sure. Oh, now I understand. Okay,
Yeah.
I was still thinking because you had Elrat in the.
We have this link which has its name. So.
No. That's why I was thinking you came back or something like that. Oh, but you're still out in. Okay, and that temple is not close by, Mataji, for you?
No, I would have gone to the temple here, but I had other duties to do. We had to travel somewhere yesterday.
Okay.
We just came today, so but I'm going to stay at the temple on Monday. So those are my 3 days that I'm looking forward to. 3 days staying in the temple. So that is keeping me going. That it's
wonderful. Okay. Maybe I can introduce you to a devotee in London who actually does temple services in London.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely. If you're looking for some contact, I can. But that particular devotee, he is in. I think he is in Canada now, but he can definitely recommend other devotees who could help you facilitate your stay there in the London temple.
Yes, Mataji, it would be nice to have his association, but I think when I wrote to them, they have organized for me. So they are very kind, the devotees in London. But if he was at the temple, I would have definitely loved to see him. So yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, so that was just a screenshot, but I will tell you about, because in London, I think the celebrations of Janmashmi still goes on and on for another week or so. So when I go to the temple on Monday, I'll let you know next Saturday.
Send some pictures also.
Sure, Mataji.
Yeah, wonderful. Whenever people talk about deities and temples and things like that, I feel so happy. When we don't have it, we always think others are so blessed to have that, and that's kind of what I'm feeling through. Very nice, Mataji, and a happy Janmashtami to all of you. So we can get started, Mataji.
So, Hare Krishna, Mataji, thank you for joining us. Please accept our humble obeisances and Dandavat Pranam from everybody who have joined the group right now and who will be joining us and who will be watching us on YouTube as well. Mataji, we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 1, Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is the son of Drona punished. And today, the text for today is text 24. Mataji, before you joined, we did the Mangalacharan and we read the text as well and the translation and purport. So I'm handing over to you now, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimrantasya Jnananjana Shlakaya Chakshurumiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschayata Deshatarani. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gauravati. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Jayamati Srinavata Swagata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantastohi Abhadrani Nashtapraya Bhakti Bhavati Nashtiki. Right. So let me So we are into the interesting segment, and just we will see a quick recap before we get into today's verse to understand the context as to where we are, and then we can get into our today's verse. Today's verse, I mean, it's kind of technical, at least from my perspective. What I'm going to teach you today is a bit technical, but if you have any questions, please clarify. It is important for us to know the Siddhant. Otherwise, it is difficult for us to come out of this material world. At least to start off, we have to know something theoretically with regards to our stay in material world and how we are illusioned and things like that. So it is going to be technical, but please pay attention to the class. And if you have any questions, we can definitely take it at the end of the class. Also give me a feedback if you understood or not, in case, I just want to know specifically today, because this is going to be a little, something that you might not have heard probably. But we'll try to see a recap and then get into our today's verse. All right, so Vyasa's vision and glories of Bhagavatam is talked about in the verses 1 to 7. So if you look at the first verse says, Sri Shaunakadi Rishis inquired, after Narada's departure, what did Vyasadeva do? For that, Sutta Goswami replied, on the western bank of the Saraswati river at Shamprasha, in a cottage, Srila Vyasadeva touched water for purification and sat down to meditate. And there, he fixed up his mind in Bhakti Yoga and saw the Supreme Lord, along with who? Along with the external potency of the Lord, which was under whose control? Which was under Lord's control. Now, he also, bewildered by the Maya, the external energy consisting of three modes, the living entity misidentifies himself as a product of matter and thus suffers. So we have to really understand what is the reason for our suffering. The suffering is due to our misidentification. The more we understand we are Dasanu Jivera Swarupuhai, we have to understand we are Dasanu Das, right? Jivera Swarupuhai, Nityera Krishna Das. We have to understand and get that imbibed in our blood, into our heart. That is when we will be able to be free from our suffering. Otherwise, as long as we are in the material world, modes are going to be there. We cannot escape the modes. But bhakti is the way that we can get out of the modes. And for that, at least we have to reach the platform of sattva to start off, right? We have to competing. Each one is trying to compete. Oh, you're trying to be really good person. I'm not going to allow you. See, I'm going to trick you. You have so much temptations here. Look at this. Where are you wasting your life? Like that, the mind will give us so much options to get ourselves into that temptation. But we have to be strong, isn't it? And how can we be strong? Where does the balam come from? The balam actually comes from Balaram, isn't it? He is the spiritual potency who can actually give us that balam. And that balam has to come from the internal potency of the Lord. And only the saviors are Gaur Nitai, right? Nitai is our savior. That is whom we have to go and plead. Please help me out. I'm trying to come out of the situation, but I'm not for some reason. I'm so much entangled. Please help me. Like that, we pray in a very submissive mood. And of course, Gaur Nitai, they are so merciful. They will definitely answer our prayers. So this is what Vyasadeva is seeing. He's seeing, oh, see, these jivas, they are all bewildered by the external potency of the Lord. And the external potency of the Lord, they consist of three modes. And every living entity is misidentifying himself with the matter. He considers himself to be the matter. He considers himself to be the body, or he considers himself to be the mind. Either ways, he misidentifies himself. This is the reason for our suffering. And then he says, by giving oral reception to the Bhagavatam, the feeling of bhakti sprouts up and extinguishes lamentation, illusion, and fear in the human being. See how much we can do. It can take away lamentation. It can take away illusion that we think right to be wrong and wrong to be right. That is illusion, isn't it? We confuse ourselves thinking this is right, but when in fact that is wrong. And then fear. All this goes away when we get into this process of bhakti. And then in the 8th to 11th verse, Vyasadeva is teaching Bhagavatam to Sukadeva Goswami. What is he saying? He's saying, having already compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyasa revised it by giving the most prominence to Krishna Bhakti on the advice of Narada Muni and taught it to the self-realized son, Sukadeva Goswami. So this is how he actually imparted his knowledge to his son Sukadev Goswami. And Shaunakadi Rishis asked, Sukadev Goswami was already on the path of self-realization, indifferent to everything and self-satisfied sage. Then why did he take the trouble of reading Srimad Bhagavatam? He's Atma Rama, right? He's already Brahman realized. And what is the reason for him to learn Srimad Bhagavatam? That is what the Shaunakadi Rishis were curious to know. And then Sukadev Goswami replied, even liberated souls are attracted to the transcendental qualities of Sri Hari and desire to render unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. Even the Atma Ramas who are so self-satisfied. Self-satisfied means what? They don't have to look for anything outside of them. They are internally very, very happy. If you're internally happy, you don't seek for something more than that, isn't it? You feel so good. You feel so satisfied. You feel so peaceful. Now, Shaunakadi Rishis are questioning, oh, what is the reason? If they are so self-satisfied, then what is the reason for Sukadev Goswami to learn Srimad Bhagavatam? And then the answer comes. Sutta Goswami says, even liberated souls, they take great enthusiasm. They are so attracted to the transcendental qualities of Lord Hari. And they have the desire to serve the Lord. And that is the reason why Sukadev Goswami is interested in learning Srimad Bhagavatam. Becoming absorbed in Krishna's qualities, Sukadev Goswami studied Srimad Bhagavatam. He is transcendentally very powerful and also very dear to the Lord's devotees. This is very nice, isn't it? And then what happens? The 12th to 16th verse talks about lamentation of the Pandava sons. Now, I will narrate about Lord Krishna, his birth and deliverance of Maharaj Parikshit and renunciation of the Pandavas. At the end of the Kurukshetra war, what happened? Ashwatthama killed 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi in order to please whom? Duryodhana, who was lying with his thigh broken. Duryodhana, was he pleased by the act of Ashwatthama? Not at all. He was so displeased. He disproved the heinous act and he was not at all pleased. Draupadi cried in distress with tears in her eyes. Arjuna spoke to pacify her. After beheading the Brahmana, I will wipe your tears, Draupadi. Then, after burning your son's body, you can take bath standing on his head. This is what I'll do to you. Arjuna then captures, if you look at 17 to 34, the scenario is that Arjuna captures Ashwatthama. Now, guided by Krishna as his charioteer, Arjuna equipped himself with armor and weapons and set out to chase Ashwatthama. Seeing Arjuna coming at him with great speed, Ashwatthama fled in fear. Now, seeing his life in danger, his horses were exhausted and finding no other alternative, Ashwatthama did what? He released the weapon, Brahmastra, without knowing how to retract it. This is fear, dear devotees. This is fear. When you are in danger, we are fearful, isn't it? And when we are taking the Sharan of Krishna, that is when we are surrendering to the lotus feet of Krishna, there is no fear. Abhaya Charana Ravinda. Bhajahure Mana Abhaya Charana Ravinda. That's what we will not have fear when we take the shelter of lotus feet of Krishna. So thereupon, a glaring light spread in different directions. Seeing his own life in danger, Arjuna addressed Lord Krishna. Now, 22 to 26 is Arjuna's prayers to Lord Krishna. So, Krishna, you bestow fearlessness in devotees, and only you can give liberation to those who are burning in the fire of material existence. Nobody else can do that, says Arjuna. You're the ultimate shelter. And then he says, he is transcendental. Krishna is transcendental. He says, you're the original Purusha. You're the original person, Adi Purusha. You're the supreme controller. You're Ishvara. You're transcendental to material nature. You're the master of spiritual energy who chases away Maya. And you're always situated in eternal bliss and knowledge. This is you, Krishna. You're transcendental. And then he says, you're merciful. Although you are beyond Maya, you execute Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha for the good of the conditioned souls. So you are beyond Maya. Krishna, see, he is the one, because you remember in the first stanza, in the first, I think it's 7th verse or 8th, in the 5th verse, Vyasadeva was seeing what? He was seeing Krishna, and Krishna was controlling who? Maya. So Maya is under the control of Krishna. So he is the controller of the external energy of the Lord. And that is why he is beyond Maya. And then you execute all these duties, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, for what? For, again, you have to act, somebody has to act as a role model, right? And for that, Krishna actually acts as the role model for us to learn from him. So that is why he does all these duties. If you look at the Dwaraka pastimes in the 10th canto, Krishna, he performs his duty very, very nicely. Grihastha duties, and then when he has to perform Sandhya Vandanam, he does all those rites and rituals because he wanted to be an example, be as a role model to everyone so that they can also follow into his footsteps. This is the point. So today's verse, I think we can get into the topic for today. Now let me go into Srila Prabhupada's purport and it's a beautiful verse, and the personality of Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, out of his causeless mercy, descends to this manifested world without being influenced by the modes of material nature. He is externally beyond the material manifestations. He descends out of his causeless mercy to reclaim the fallen souls who are captivated by the illusory energy. They are attacked by the material energy and they want to enjoy under false pretext, although in essence, the living entity is unable to enjoy. This is the point, dear devotees. It is not possible, it is not natural for us to enjoy. But what happens is that we want to be the doers. We think we are the doers, and because we are the doers, there is a tendency for us to enjoy. This attitude of enjoyment actually comes from the attitude of being the doer. They both are linked. Very important concept. Please note it down. So one is eternally the servitor of the Lord, and when he forgets the position, he thinks of enjoying the material world. When we forget, we are the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. The false ego has to be set right. The true ego has to come into picture. Because of our false ego, we get into troubles. And because of that, we want to enjoy, because of the false ego. But factually, he is an illusion. The Lord descends to eradicate this false sense of enjoyment and thus reclaim the conditioned souls back to Godhead. This is the merciful nature of the Lord upon the fallen souls. Isn't it very beautiful? How merciful is the Lord? He has given us everything for us to get back to him. But still we are holding on to this material world so tightly that we don't want to leave this material world. And that is what we are going to see today. A very, very important section, because unless we know how to get out of this material world, we will not strive to get out, isn't it? We will think, oh yeah, this is good, this is good, this is good, but this is not good. Okay, so now let's get into the subject matter. So let's actually get into the understanding of how we are actually focused on the temporary. Okay, so Krishna, he reminds us that we are not the body and that we are the soul, and the soul has fundamentally a different nature. The soul does not die. The soul remains forever young. The body is doomed to die in any case. The soul never dies. And as a result of being eternal, the soul has identified itself with something temporary. This is what is happening to us. See, it is an eternal thing. The soul is eternal, but it has identified itself with something temporary. And that is the reason for our sorrow, which is what is conveyed. And Bhagavad Gita is a cure for grief, a cure for suffering, a cure for sorrow. Again and again, Krishna says things, every verse, in almost every verse, he says, you will reach my abode. You will definitely reach my abode. That abode, there is no sorrow at all. There is no anxiety at all. You will definitely reach the abode. He gives us assurance over and over and over in Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? We saw that. He not only theoretically explains that there is an abode, but he explains what the matter is, what the problem is, and why we are all suffering. Why we are suffering? Because we identify ourselves with the body and mind. And we live in this material world. And in this material world, we are afraid of everything. If we go a little deeper to understand why we have identified with something secondary or something that is insignificant, that is because of at the moment, we are focused on something that is not worth it. Because of our consciousness. This consciousness, where does it come from? It has so much material impressions from so many births, isn't it? We are focused on this world where everything is transient, everything is temporary, and we can't tear our consciousness away from this material world. This is the problem that we are facing. This is a very, very practical, everybody is facing this problem because we are not able to tear apart and bring our consciousness away from this material world. And we are focusing on everything that is transient, everything that is temporary. Now, let's actually get into the concept of attachment to the secondary. Secondary meaning, what is the secondary we are talking about? The secondary is something that is not, isn't it? So what happens here is that because of the painful attachment to the secondary, that is our body, our mind, we're always afraid. Why are we afraid? See, I'm afraid that I will, if I'm attached to my house, I'm afraid this, if something happens to the house, then I will be lost. If something, I'm attached to my sons, and if something happens to them, I feel like I'm lost. If something happens to my family, I'm lost. If something happens to my bank balance, I'm lost. This attachment to the secondary things, what does it lead to? We're always afraid. Oh yeah, you know what? I'm possessive. I possess this bank account, and if bank balance becomes zero, I lost everything. I'm attached to it. And if I lose everything, what happens? Your status, you become completely lost. We are attached to something, isn't it? Something or the other we are attached to. And all those things that we are attached to are temporary. If they are temporary, it is anyway going to be lost. It's a question of time, either now or later. But on the contrary, if we are attached to something that is eternal and permanent, even if everything goes away from this world, because we are soul by nature, we will be fine. This is the point. And the root of all fear, if you think of everything in this world, everything is temporary, and all of you, all of us, we are constantly afraid. And the ultimate end result of this product is afraid of death. The root of all fear is the fear of death. In 11th canto, we see Bhayam Dvitiya Abhinivesha Tasyat Isha Tapetasya Viparyayo Smritihi. Viparyayo Smritihi. I forgot. And since I have forgotten who I am, I'm trying to realize myself or define myself to understand myself in terms of matter. Hence, I have all these problems. You know what? I'm a CEO of a company. And if I lose my position as a CEO of my company, I'm angry. I'm greedy. I have to attain the next position. I'm selfish because of my lust. So greed, anger, and lust is a result of what? Is a result of primordial fear. The fear that comes, I have turned away from God. That is why. Because I don't want to see God. As a result, all this comes. The fear comes, and because of this fear, because of this primordial fear, all the anarthas come. The main, this is very, very important verse, the 11th canto verse that we are talking about. Bhayam Dvitiya Abhinivesha Tasyat Isha Tapetasya Viparyayo Smritihi. I have forgotten who I am. And because I have forgotten who I am, because I have not recognized I am Dasanu Dasanu Das, because of my false ego, I am trying to realize myself and relate myself to matter. And because of this, all the problems are happening. All these anarthas are due to the fear that actually comes because we have turned away from God. This is very important. I'm repeating this again so that it gets into our head. And as a result, what happens? I have many, many desires. The desires actually keep me here. The desires actually bind me here. And even if I believe in God, say, okay, I'm believing in God, fine. But I'm just needing God to fulfill my desires. You know, God, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. And Krishna is explaining in the very beginning of Bhagavad Gita how to solve your problem. He says, first a person must tear his consciousness and attachment away from matter. From the concentration on matter, he just has to take out his consciousness. and move away from that. Isn't it? So in this material world, if you look at the practical situation of what is happening to us, we all hear, isn't it? You're all hearing Srimad Bhagavatam now, which is good. But if you look at the world in general, everybody is pulling us in different directions. If you look at religions, religions are different. Each religion is pulling us in different directions. And if you don't go so far into religion, okay, I'm not going into religion. You look at the world, what is out there? Advertisements. Look at the advertisement posters or advertisements per se in the YouTube channels. Oh yeah, you know what? This is the best product. If you don't have this, your life is waste. So what is happening to us? Krishna helps us understand, diagnose. He helps us to understand, diagnose the problem of what happens to this person who's attached to the world. He trades his mind for some temporary things. And because of the attachment towards that thing, he survives. He trades his mind for temporary things, for attachment to it, and he in fact lives in a dream. This is important. I need this. Yeah, this is very important. Oh yeah, the latest cell phone. Yes, I need this. Oh, latest something else, blue. I need that. Latest something else. Latest car. I need that. Everything I need. Without it, I cannot survive. And Krishna says here in the situation, we are all stuck in the swamp of illusion. The mind is stuck in the swamp of illusion, isn't it? It is very difficult for a person to live in such a state. So in this world, there are a variety of different things. The people are in this world, if you look at them, each one is giving ideas to us. And we are all listening. Oh, you know what? My friend has something to say. Okay, my neighbor has something to say. And my relatives have something to say. My husband has something to say. So what happens as a result of this listening? Eventually we become confused. Moha Kalilam. We find ourselves in jungle of illusion, swamp of illusion. Each one gives their ideas based on their perspectives, based on how their impressions are. Accordingly, they will think, and accordingly, they will give you instructions, isn't it? And we say, yeah, yes. But you look at it, in actuality, it is just their frame of mind. So it's very important for us to hear what Bhagavatam has to say, what Bhagavad Gita has to say. And as a result of this confusion of listening and hearing from so many different sources, what happens? You have a tendency to desire more and more and more. And because of these material desires, what happens? You don't want to solve the problems in the end. The main problem of our life is birth, death, old age, and disease. So what happens as a result is desires come in, and then we are attached to this material world, and we don't want to go away from this material world. This loop continues over and over and over. Again, I reiterate this point. As a result of hearing from so many sources, we accumulate so many different ideas and we become attached to it. So it's very easy for our consciousness to be confused, right? So you will become indifferent to everything you've heard. You want to hear. Srila Prabhupada, he explains the essence of desire, which appears. The essence of the desire is that even as a result of so-called spiritual activities, you become indifferent. This is how we can be easily confused. It's easy for us to be confused. When so many people give different ideas, we just, depending upon how our mindset is, we will just go with the one that is favorable for us. But in reality, it may not be favorable actually when you look
Hare Krishna Mataji. I can't hear anything.
Hare Krishna, I thought it was my internet. I've just put on the chat. Are you able to hear? It must be Mataji's internet. Let me message her. And she's dropped off as well, so it is her internet.
I think I should join in my
Yes.
phone, Mataji. 1 second.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
Are you all able to see me, Mataji?
Yes, yes, Mataji.
Okay, great. So, 1 second. So the main point to note is that we get confused as a result of hearing, and we really have to be conscious of what we hear. And the main, even from a scriptural perspective, I mean, even Vedas may say so many different things, but for us, Bhakti Shastras are the ones we have to go to. And in the Bhakti Shastras, whatever our acharyas have given, that is what we need to go to. Other sources, we are not worried about it. But this is more than enough. Our acharyas have given so much for us, and whatever they have given, if we are able to follow through that, then that is more than enough. We don't have to go and search for any other source. And we really have to be cautious about what we hear. And again, sometimes it may not be in control also. We cannot control what is going to come to us when it comes to hearing, because some people can just pour their ideas to us, and all we have to do is we just have to be intelligent. I'm just going to go with what Bhagavad Gita says, what our Guru Varga say, and I'm not too much carried away by. We sometimes have to listen. We are in this material world, and we have to go with the flow. So I do agree to that. So, but the point is that we need to discriminate and be able to understand what is good information and what is not. So that is very, very important for us to survive in this material world. And now here I want to talk to you all about an interesting story which Sachinanda Maharaj has given us in one of his lectures. I thought this was a beautiful story to actually help us understand how we are actually attached to this material world. Maharaj makes a beautiful point at the end, but I really want to share the story with all of you so that you also benefit out of this story. Because the stories is what keeps us actually see, there could be philosophy, but this philosophy actually remains in us when we link it with the story. That's how I always feel nourished whenever I hear some stories. So the story is, so he said that there was the sannyasi who actually decided to build a temple. But for some reason, people did not give donations to him at all. So he wanted to build a temple for Krishna. Okay, that's the point. And no matter what, he wanted to do it. And he actually began to pray in desperation. Yes, Krishna, please. He began to pray in desperation to Krishna. And Krishna, he began to say, oh Lord Krishna, God, you're omnipotent. You have all this mystical power. So why can't you give me a blessing, some kind of blessing? If so that people can actually give money to me, so that I can build a temple for you. Why can't you do that, Krishna? You have this mystical potency in you, isn't it? So Krishna, he appeared in front of him. He said, I'll give you one gift. Okay, it's a very, very amazing gift. It's a rare gift. It's a wonderful gift. You can actually bestow this gift to anybody, any person. And Krishna, with an enigmatic smile, he said, this is the rarest gift, believe me. This is the best gift anybody can give. And now, with because you asked me, I'm going to give this, the blessing, without doing any sadhana, without actually going through any kind of difficulty. This person actually, without fasting, without doing any kind of austerities,
this person, whoever you bestow this blessing upon, he can come to my abode very easily. He can return to Godhead immediately. This is the boon I'm giving you. This is the blessing I'm giving you. This is very, very rare gift, best gift. So now you will just have to say, see, if you want to go to Godhead very quickly, I have a benediction with me. You like that, you can actually give this benediction to a person, whoever you meet with. He doesn't have to perform any sadhana. He doesn't have to perform any austerities. He doesn't have to do anything. He just has a straight ticket to Goloka. How wonderful is that? Now, so he ran to the first person whom we came across. Again, what is his motive? His motive is to build a temple for Krishna. So this person whom he met the first time is a young woman and a man. They had just been married. Okay, I can actually do a miracle to your life. I can give you a blessing. This blessing, with this blessing, without any difficulty, without any practice, without any sadhana, without repetition of a mantra, you can actually go back to Godhead. This is a straight ticket to Goloka. Are you interested? So they asked this sannyasi, what do you actually need? I need money to build a temple. They said, I'll give you money, no problem. But you know what? We just got married. Can you look at us? We are so young. We just got married. And you're asking me to go back to Godhead? No. I really don't want this benediction. I don't mind giving you a donation. Take some donation. So this sannyasi, he was a little disappointed, although he thought, yeah, it works. Anyways, they gave me money. So he began to approach different people. As you know, he has this benediction and he began to approach it with different peoples. And everybody whom he went to, they said, oh, you know what? I don't need it now. Go somewhere else. Like that. So this sort of, made him to think, is this benediction or what? So finally, he actually found a person who was actually dying. He was in his deathbed. He had terminal illness. He was on his deathbed. And he said, listen, leave me your inheritance. Just give me your inheritance. This inheritance will be used for a wonderful purpose. It will be used to actually build a temple for Krishna. Why don't you give me this inheritance? In turn, I'm going to give you a wonderful gift. And with this gift, what you can do is, you can actually go to Goloka, straight back to Goloka. Do you want to have this gift? He was very curious. He was very anxious to give this to this dying person, because everybody else rejected, because they were all in a very nice position and they didn't want to leave that position that they were situated in. He thought it was a very good deal for this person who was suffering in terminal illness. So now, what do you think this person would have said? He says, you know what? If I want a benediction, I would rather want to live for one more year. I really don't want to go to Goloka. That's not what I want. I really don't want that. If you want to give me a benediction, the best benediction would be to actually help me to stay in this material world for one more year. One more year. This is what I want. And now the sannyasi, he became so upset. He began to pray to God. He just began to pray and asked Krishna, nobody wants your benediction. What kind of people are they? Krishna came to him and said, why are you crying? Why are you crying? He said, looks like you gave me a stupid blessing, Krishna. Nobody needs this. Why don't people appreciate it? Why does one not want to return to you? What's the problem? Krishna, looking at him, asking these questions, he smiled. He smiled in a very pleasing way. In a meaningful smile. He had a very meaningful smile. Maharaj says he had a very meaningful smile. Why are you these people, sannyasi? Are you ready to come back to me? Are you ready? You tell me. Are you ready to come back to me? You tell me. And for that, the sannyasi says, no. I want to actually build a temple for you, Krishna. I'm not ready yet. Please. So this is the point of the story, is that Wherever we are living, we are so attached to it. We hear a lot about this place. We think all the time, see, it's not now, but I'm hoping it'll be good sometime in the future. This place will definitely give me happiness. No. I have so many desires. All these desires can be fulfilled in this place. Right? And after fulfilling these desires, I will definitely become happy. There is definitely that probability. Even though I may not be happy now, or you may be happy now, and you'll be looking for more happiness. Either ways, they don't want to give up this world. There is hope against hope. Yeah, if not now, tomorrow it will work. If not tomorrow, future is there for this desire to work, for me to happiness, isn't it? So we keep craving for this on and on and on. Are you able to understand? This is very, very, I thought this was a very relevant story that Maharaj spoke. Despite all the suffering, despite all the tormentation that we go through, despite all the disappointments that we experience, despite all this, the person remains chained to this material, dear devotees. So it is his mind, his consciousness, which is in the swamp of illusion. And what does the swamp of illusion means? Swamp of illusion means I still have the illusion that I think I can actually reach a perfect state here in this material world. This is illusion. That I can really settle down here and be happy here. I do not lose interest in the new methods, new ways to improve my condition. I really don't, I don't want to lose interest in all these things, because this place is a place of hope for me. This place is going to give perfect happiness for me. I'm thinking like that. This is illusion. So for that, our Gita actually recommends what? 3 methods, isn't it? Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. So Karma Yoga does not work in the age of Kali. It involves the performance of Vedic rituals, and we have to do a lot of rituals, and it needs a lot of inner purity. And Jnana Yoga does not work here again, because for Jnana Yoga to work, you have to have a purified heart. If you don't have a purified heart, Jnana Yoga cannot work. So that is also ruled out. And Bhakti Yoga doesn't work in Kali Yuga either, because we don't have time for that, isn't it? Oh, you know what? I have this appointment, that appointment, this thing, that thing, this work, that work. Because of all my other priorities, I really don't have time for Bhakti Yoga. But if any method works, at least partially, then it's Bhakti. Because we don't give enough time. We have so many other priorities in our life. We were not able to dedicate time. And if at all we are able to dedicate a little bit of time, then Bhakti Yoga is the one which will work. This is the point. At the end, everything is based on Bhakti. So, it's very important for us to remember that we have to take the consciousness away from what is unimportant and turn our consciousness towards God. Turn our consciousness towards Krishna. Turn our consciousness to what our Guru Varga say. And through this message has to be taken very seriously. See, whatever we listen to, it's all hearing, and hearing goes, sometimes can affect our heart, and that leads to emotions. So so it's very important what gets into a heart. The emotions, the emotion has to come for Krishna. And all other emotions, we have to definitely tackle it. Meaning, see, it is important, we are in a family life and everything. But when it comes to hearing, the main source has to be Shabda Praman. And that Shabda Praman has to come from our Guru Vargas and what Srila Prabhupada teaches us, and what Srimad Bhagavatam teaches us. Because this material world is a place where people exchange their consciousness. A person remains in an unnatural state. It's not natural for us to be like this, but we are like this. And Srila Prabhupada, he explains in chapter 8, the best way to actually become conscious of our consciousness is by chanting the holy names of the Lord. What happens when we chant the holy names of the Lord? We are trying to become the observers, isn't it? We are observing the holy name. We are observing and hearing the holy name, and then we understand, I'm actually not this. I'm an observer. We understand that. because it's not our nature to be like this. It's unnatural for us. Our nature is to serve. So we need to understand this and work on a very conscious basis to actually get out of this material world. Because of our attachment to this material world, we are entangling ourselves. Each and every action that we perform leads to an entanglement. If you look at it very carefully in our lives, very, very easy to observe and see how we are getting entangled by that simple act. We think, yeah, it's just normal, but it may not be Krishna conscious way of acting. So please, dear devotees, let's all try to become conscious of how we are dealing with people and what we are hearing. And that way we can actually, definitely make an attempt to come out of this material world and understand who we really are. So with this, I want to conclude and leave it up for questions, if any. So I'll pause here and thank you so much for listening. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Manchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for a wonderful class today. Are there any questions or comments? Mataji, till people are thinking about that. Okay. Yes, Panchali Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much for the wonderful class. If I may please ask a question around your point on we hear too many things and we are confused. That is so true in the material world, but sometimes, or probably it's just me, and my fallen soul actually, because I get confused at times hearing about Krishna Katha as well, because different devotees, their realizations are in different ways. Especially if they are very exalted devotees, their realizations are in different ways. So sometimes the same points are mentioned to us in different ways. So as fallen souls who are trying to get into Krishna consciousness, I'm confused at times. I'll give you an example. So because Janmashmi was coming up, so I was listening to a few classes on YouTube. And there was one Prabhuji, he was giving a really lovely class on Janmashtami, and he talked about Vrindavan Krishna and Dwarka Krishna, and the fact that Yashoda Mataji gave birth to Vrindavan Krishna as well. And at the same time, Devaki Mataji gave birth to the Dwarka Krishna, who was brought by Vasudev to Vrindavan, and in Vrindavan, the two Krishnas merged. And then whilst leaving, when Krishna grew up a bit, when Akrura came to take Krishna away, and then under Yamuna, Akrura saw Dwarka Krishna, or the Vishnu form, and that is the Krishna who went back to Dwarka with Akrura, whereas the Vrindavan Krishna, who was born at Vrindavan, remained at, or rather, who appeared at Vrindavan, remained at Vrindavan. Thus establishing the fact that Krishna never ever leaves Vrindavan. So that, I mean, there's something for me to learn from here, because if I may ask, is there a reference to this where I can study a bit more on this?
Yes, Mataji, this is actually hidden. This is not widely spoken about, because this particular the Krishna pastime that you're talking about is not in Srimad Bhagavatam, but I believe it is in Gopal Champu or one of those books. I can definitely get you a reference, but the information is 100% true, 100% valid. I'll get you the reference maybe in the next call. The point here is that, Mataji, so when we are hearing different realizations, we need to understand, depending upon how advanced they are, they actually share the realizations. So we need to understand, okay, first, good, you asked about reference. It's very important for us to know where this information is coming from, because it's a YouTube class and we are watching it not live. We are just hearing it as a recorded hearing. We will not be able to ask questions, but glad you brought up. We always need to go back to our and be able to clarify and say, oh, here is what our acharya says like this, and this is what the speaker is talking about, if it is not clear from the lecture. The second thing is, we need to also understand if the speaker is very elevated. Say, for example, if Maharajas are giving a talk, they're all very, very exalted. And sometimes we may be confused even by hearing from them because we are not situated in, we may not have that devotional maturity with us. So in that case, when we don't have that devotional maturity, we'll not be able to understand or grasp what the speaker is saying. So what happens during what we have to say to ourselves is that with a period of time, I'll be able to understand and resolve this contradiction that's going on with my mind. So now I'm not able to understand. Krishna, you please help me to be able to become devotionally mature so that I'm able to understand and be able to realize also eventually what the speaker is saying. Because right now I'm really don't understand. I'm not at all understanding. Because we are situated in this particular level of devotional maturity, we really don't understand. We have to give ourselves a benefit of doubt. Yes, I really don't understand because I don't have this devotional maturity yet for me to understand that concept. And then the thing is that when it comes to speaker, we actually go with the speakers who we listen on a regular basis, and we also hear what they quote and what they refer upon, and what is the relevance to the subject matter. So we go with those people to start off. Initially, at least, we don't want to try new speakers and things like that. That can actually safeguard us from having that confusion, because when we go through different speakers, first, at least initially, we just have to get ourselves the understanding of the basic siddhanta that is being spoken about. And once we have that, then we may be able to accept a variety of sources. And, certain people have a pattern with which they go. And if you like that pattern, you follow through that pattern, go with that speaker. If you're bored, then go to different source. But for the most part, if a speaker gives reference to what he's talking about, then that's the speaker whom we go to.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji. That's a wonderful point. Okay, I'll remember that. Thank you very much indeed.
Sure. I get to the source, Mataji. It's one of the lectures, but I need to just get the source for you.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Sandhya Mataji, kindly ask your question.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, and all devotees, and happy Janmashmi to everyone. Mataji, I really need to know, what do we do up in Golok? What's our role? I mean, what do we do? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. It's been a long time, Sandhya Mataji. It's been a long time hearing from you. Really good to hear from you. And so when it comes to Goloka, there's so much to do, Mataji. What is not there in Goloka that we will not be able to do? Again, so when we go to Goloka, when we are eligible to go to Goloka, we'll be situated in one of the rasas with Krishna. It could be any ras, right? It could be the Dasya, Sakya, Madhurya. Again, with our Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, what is going to eventually happen to us after Nishta is that we will, depending upon the greed that we have, depending upon that, we may actually follow the footsteps of a Vrajavasi. And specifically, it is because our Sampradaya, if you look at most of all the Goswamis, they are all having Manjari Bhav. And that is the Bhav that is leading to Madhurya, right? So this is what it will eventually culminate to, because this is what our acharyas have given us. When we follow through our acharyas' writings, then this is what you will get. And so the rasa that we are actually, even though again the dasya is the base for everything, dasya is the base. But then if we follow through the footsteps of the Goswamis, then eventually when we have greed, for the following the footsteps of the Vrajavasis, we get into the Raganuga platform, which happens again after Nishta. Then we'll be situated and established in a rasa. And because we are established in a rasa with Krishna, we will be performing the services based of that rasa. So depending upon, if you are, having a, obviously, as I told you, we will probably be, if we follow through correctly, then we will eventually be able to get into the bhav, that is the Manjari bhav. But yeah, that's really high level, but that's the service that we would be doing to Krishna, and we will be eternally engaged in the service of Krishna, serving the gopis and things like that, Mataji. I hope I just made the point clear.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Good to hear from you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, are there any other questions or comments? I know we have exhausted our time, and if there are any other questions or comments, we can probably take it next week. My year is going to stop in the next 2 or 3 days, that's why. Okay. Yes, Sandhya Mataji, you have raised your hands again.
Sorry, Kirtika, Mataji, but thank you. I wonder if I can just ask a question. Mataji, I just wanted to know, like, you know, we were talking about all these emotions which emerge from fear and this, that, and the other. It's when I'm hearing it all makes sense, but when it comes to practical life, none of this comes back and none of this ever makes any sense to me, ever.
Yeah.
It's okay in theory, I can learn it, and as soon as I've heard it, I can kind of tell my daughter. But when it's happening in real life, and even if Lord Krishna says prayas, 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 I think it's easy for Krishna to say it, but really when it's happening, none of this ever comes back. It's again after the event or after it's happened, the confusion that's in the head. So I think that we have to go through these emotions when things are happening. The desire will be there, this, that, and the other. But what I then struggle is the emotion that comes after, the repentance or the self-loathing, the guilt. And I think I will have to start from how to heal this feeling first and then try and sort out the fear and the desire and stuff. So Mataji, my question really is that when we are going through all these negative emotions that have arisen as a result of what we have just created or just done because of the fear which led to all those different emotions, how should we cope with that confused state of mind? That's my question, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So a simple solution would be, I'm not this emotion, right? And that is the easy way to tackle that, to say, no, I'm not this emotion, because what are we identifying with? We are identifying ourselves with that emotion, who we are not, and which is not ours, but we are identifying with it. And that is because we have turned away from Krishna. Once you realize, yes, I did this mistake, and this feeling of repentance that you're talking about is very important, Mataji. It actually helps you to prepare for the next time. You can react in a better way because of that feeling of repentance. When you have that deep feeling of repentance, what happens the next time is that you will not be committing that same mistake, whatever you did previous time. It definitely is going to be far better, and it's going to be better for you in the sense it's actually helping you to advance in devotional service. The next time when you actually respond to that situation, you'll be really cautious, you'll be really alert, and you will say, no, I'm not going to react in this way, because I know what the consequences are when I react in this way. So I'm not going to do this. I'm going to just leave it to Krishna. Whatever, I mean, in the sense, how we react and respond to situations, that is what Bhagavatam teaches us. Okay, in this situation, okay, a Jamal situation, I did something bad. I mean, then what happens? The consequence. So intelligent person actually learns from what happens to others. He actually sees, oh, this happens with the other person. I'm not going to repeat that action in my life. Because if I do that, that is the consequence that Ajamal faced. Like that, I'm also going to face the same consequence. This is what Bhagavatam is teaching us. An intelligent person will always look at it, when others are having trouble, then I'm not going to get myself in trouble by performing the same kind of action. So when you actually perform the action, you get the consequences of the action. The next time, you be very cautious. This is not an intelligent move. But of course, you've made a mistake. No problem. Krishna gives you another chance. He gives you another way to test you. How are you able to come out? Are you taking shelter of Krishna immediately? Are you going to him and asking for his mercy? I'm not having that intelligence to actually react in a correct way. Can you please tell me, Krishna? Can you guide me? Then he sends devotees. He sends shastras to you. He guides you. Right? So this is what happens to a devotee, Mataji. If he doesn't know how to act, and if you ask for Krishna's help as to how to react to a particular situation, he guides you. And this is why the scriptures are here. I mean, we may take it easy, but then there is a particular reason why Krishna has given us. And we should just make the best use of the best use of what is given to us in trying to understand what Krishna is trying to say. We may understand 5%, 10%, no problem. Whatever we understand, you just ask Krishna, can I have more devotional maturity to understand the subject matter even deeper? That is how we progress. The mercy has to descend down. It's not because with our material mind and intelligence, we can't get to understanding Srimad Bhagavatam. The mercy has to descend down and just pray to Krishna, pray to our acharyas. Please reveal this subject matter deeper to me. That way we'll be able to understand and react and respond accordingly, Mataji. Hope that helps. You're on mute, Mataji. You're on mute. Mataji is on mute.
Oh, sorry, Mataji. I was going to say, yes, I'm going to practice this. I think Krishna is probably getting fed up with me going on asking mercy and forgiveness of him. Oh, sorry, Krishna. So I'm going to try.
Very important, Mataji. Don't leave that. Don't ever think. Don't even leave that forgiveness. That's what actually burns the thing. I mean, it makes you feel so bad, and that guilt should not take you to the extreme, but it should be to a point where you feel guilty about it, not to repeat it next time. That's good enough. But you should, because of guilt, you should not perform any kind of activity and be like a dumb person. No, that's not what the guilt should do. Because when you're guilty, oh, you know what, I'm tired, I can't do this, I can't, you forego and forget all your duties that you're supposed to do, which is not what the guilt should eventually lead to. The guilt should lead to reformation and transformation in you.
Mataji, are we kind of becoming sannyasis without taking sannyas? Is that what's happening to us when we hear all this and we're transforming our life? So we are mentally following the path of sannyas without being sannyas. Is that what we are achieving, Mataji?
No. The thing is, Mataji, at the end of the day, a devotee actually looks at it from a point of giving pleasure to Krishna. So I'm trying to please a lover. I'm trying to please my he is my supreme father. I mean, this is the mood initially we get, and then we get a more closer feeling with Krishna. But then the point is, we are trying to please someone, and for pleasing someone, you don't feel like you do it out of compulsion, isn't it? If you love someone, you just do it like that, and till we get to the point, it will be hard for us. But you don't have to do anything artificially. Okay, you just be normal. And when you get to a point where you do out of your own free will, yes, I want to do this to please Krishna, so he is happy. And if he is happy, eventually you're going to be happy. That's the point. That is the secret to our happiness. If you make Krishna happy, you're going to be happy. He's just not going to be like a selfish person, not to give you back the happiness that you've given him. He is a lover. Like, you love him. And when you do something out of love to someone, the love comes back as reciprocation. He gives you back that love. And when you have that love, you'll feel, oh, just getting this love, I'm ready to do anything for this person. No problem. You just do it out of your own free will. Till that point, it will feel as if we are forcing hard on ourselves. But don't do that, Mataji. Just try to be natural. Try to do how much ever you can. If you're not able to do, no problem. Wait for the time. Do sincere chanting. Do sincere japa. Try to focus. All this you do, but don't do anything artificially, where when you do artificially these things, then you'll feel, yeah, I'm renouncing. I'm becoming a sannyasi. I'm doing this. So it's just hard on me. No, don't do that. Hope you get
okay,
that.
Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for those questions and your answers, Mataji. Can I request Arya Govind Prabhuji, can you close the session? We have overrun by a long time, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, thank you. Thank you, Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you for the wonderful class, and then lot of churning of the information and a lot of doubts. Thank you for the nice answers. That will also help all of us in dealing with day-to-day dealings. Hare Krishna. So I request all the devotees to unmute and then chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra once. Glorification of our grace, Radhika Kasturi Mataji. Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhayeva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Praise Radhika Kasturi Mataji ki
Jai.